I'm guilty personally of getting too comfortable with sales. I'm guilty of grinding in sales so hard, then I land a couple of big clients and then I just chill. Because it's hard. And the comfort zone is delivering, and I'm an engineer, and that's what I love to do. And maybe you are too, right? But ideally, as a functioning business, imagine you're trying to sell your business, right? If someone comes to buy your business and all they see is you doing all of the hard work whenever you feel like it, because you're gonna run out of money and you need to get a new client, that's not a very good business from the outside. No one's going to buy that, right? So you actually need marketing machinery that run on autopilot that get you clients while you sleep. That's the dream. And all you do would be tweaking that machinery and running experiments, figuring out what's working, what's not working, killing the bad experiments, spinning up better ones, and so on. So the real problem is distribution and marketing and sales. And that's what I'm going to help you kind of navigate your way around today. Let's look at some stats. Subjectively, like I said, always been guilty of it. But actually, we know that 90% of startups fail for all sorts of reasons. But 22% of startups and SMEs fail due to bad marketing. That's the piece of statistics we have. And it's because the founders spend less than 5 hours per week on marketing, which is the thing that keeps the business alive. The thing that keeps your business alive, you only spend less than 5 hours doing. Hands up if you spend less than 5 hours doing marketing in a week. Yeah, you could raise your hand with the raise hand thing. I know I'm guilty of it, right? Because when you're a founder of a small company, you're just grinding. There's just so much to do, and the weird things that pop up uh, in the middle of the day that you just have to do, and so you end up spending less time on marketing. And you basically die when you do bad marketing. You get like a shitty product with an amazing marketing strategy would eat you for breakfast if you have the best product with a suboptimal marketing strategy. So the problem is that no one knows you exist, and that's the problem that we're trying to solve. Now, marketing, so it's a big word. There are a lot of different types of marketing and ways where you can do marketing. Um, on the left, we have outbound. Well, the first thing that comes to everyone who is trying to sell, the first thing that comes to your mind is, okay, so I'm going to open LinkedIn, I'm going to get a sales navigator, and I'm going to start spamming the hell out of my target customers. And then no one replies, and you waste some money, you waste a month, it's not working. You're like, oh, well, maybe they don't open LinkedIn as much. Maybe I should do email. And then you start doing cold emails, and then they don't work. And then you realize, well, it's probably the subject. I know it's the subject of my email. I can do better subjects. And then you do a better subject, it just doesn't work, right? And then you're like, well, it's my email list. I'm gonna subscribe to the much more expensive email tool that gives me the emails. I know I'm speaking as in you're doing it, but this is me. I was doing it. I subscribed to a tool that charged me $3,000 every month to get me some emails. I was so invested into that thing, and it's just, well, it didn't work. Probably because I didn't do it right. But then I want something that's a bit foolproof, something that's also easy to do to get right. Um, but yeah, so LinkedIn outreach, very, very low conversion rate. Cold emails, the lowest conversion rate in all of the marketing strategies for most businesses. Um, right. So DM bots, you get detected, and then they ban you. So outbound is hard. It's definitely harder than inbound. But the thing is that when you're thinking in terms of short-term gain, you're thinking of outbound. If you need a sale tomorrow, what comes to your head is that I need to talk to someone so they can reply so that we can make a sale. But if you're more strategic about it and you think long term, you're gonna want to rely more on outbound and do the effort that eventually, probabilistically, will result in people contacting you and actually wanting to work with you. And it's a much better conversation, actually. If you're selling anything and you reach out to someone, you're chasing. You're like, please, dude, this thing is great. Let me talk to you about it. Let me give you a discount. But if they talk to you because they are interested, the positioning shifts and you're the expert and you're educating them and you're helping them and you're trying to give them the best quality. You're not necessarily the cheapest, so you can put a premium. So not only is it an easier way of doing marketing, and sales, it's also better for the business in general. It's a healthier business when you have inbound. Now, how to do inbound? Like, what kinds of inbound? Well, there's search engine optimization, obviously, where the source of your top of funnel would be people searching in Google. Hey, what's the best place that the best business around me that does AI consulting? And you get Hexaflow or something. And it's not just search engine, right? So right now, people don't ask Google, they ask Claude, they ask Gemini, they ask AI, and AI pulls out information from the web similarly to how Google picks it up. So also search engine optimization now has a fancy label around it called generative engine optimization, but it's just you ranking higher than your competitors in Google, basically. But it works. It worked for a computer, if you remember the screenshots that I showed you. And I'm gonna expand on why that worked. Which is something basically you do using blog posts. You just post a lot of content for keywords that people are searching for. It gets picked up. They enter your landing page, and ideally, you should have a landing page that convinces them that it's worth talking to you, so they can book a call or give you a text or something like that. You can also do social media. You could do influencer marketing. You could pay someone who has a lot of followers, this guy, to promote your product because he has an audience that trusts him. But it's very expensive and might not be ideal for small companies and more ideal for larger enterprises. You could also do paid ads. I'm sure that's also one of the things that come to mind when you're thinking about outbound, right? It's like, I'm going to do outbound. Content. I can't do organic content. I'm bad at content. I don't know how to do content. I can't do videos. I can't. Then you're like, okay, well, what's the easiest thing? Throw money at the problem. Let's do paid ads. And so they don't work because you don't know how to do content. Because ads also work only if you know how to do content and you have a winning piece of content. That's when you promote it with ads. So actually, by just doing paid ads, you're actually skipping a step, which is organic content. You could also do events and communities like this one, right? We're doing a webinar, and maybe I'm going to tell you about my company, and then maybe you're going to be interested in my company. You're going to be my client. So maybe I'm in a Discord group that also has thousands of people, and the Discord group has a lot of people interested in AI, and then I sell them my service because I'm trying to help them, so they become my client. So it's a lot of different ways, right? Now, one thing that I learned is, as a small, medium enterprise, you should never spread yourself too thin. I actually can just show you this slide and tell you, well, here's the plan. I'm going to set up an AI automation for you to do every single one of those things. There's going to be an AI agent that scraps the web for emails, and then it's going to call the people, and then it's going to email them. And then when they text you on WhatsApp, it's going to reply to them with the best offer and add them to the CRM, which is possible, right? It's possible. None of the stuff that I just said is technically unfeasible. It's very much possible. And you, in some cases, should probably do it. But if you just think that the best way to conquer the marketing world is to do everything with AI at the same time and cross your fingers and hope for the clients, that's not going to work. You got to focus. You got to get rid of the noise, figure out one thing that you think is the highest ROI initiative. And then that's the thing you invest in. And you invest a lot of time and money into it. And you really try to perfect it and like cross the T's and dot the I's for your business. So we're not going to do all of that. And we're going to focus on one specific part of inbound that gets the highest ROI for small and medium enterprises. So I hope that this slide convinced you two things. The first thing is that inbound is much better than outbound long term. The second thing is that you got to do one inbound strategy until you milk the hell out of it, and then perhaps try to do something else. Have I managed to convince you of that? Summed up. Raise hands. Someone is not convinced. This is the time where you tell me, no, I'm not convinced, so I can actually try to convince you. All right. I'm going to assume we're all on the same page here. Right. I think I should have shown you this slide earlier. And this one also. Claude did a good job at understanding what I wanted to say. Right. So the thing you need to do that you should focus on that gets you the best ROI is organic content marketing. Now let's break it down before I tell you why it's the best. Organic, meaning you're not spending money to push your content, right? Content means that you're creating something that your audience cares about. Marketing in that context means that the content you're creating organically should have one goal, which is to generate leads. If that's not clear in the exact piece of content, it doesn't have to look like an ad, but the goal of the content should be to generate leads. Now, when you do organic content, we know that you get 3x more leads than other traditional methods. We know that it's 62% cheaper to get a lead than paid ads. And we know that 68% of businesses already prefer its ROI. So almost most of the people that actually do it succeed in doing it, and they're happy with the results. Now, why isn't everyone doing it? Because it's hard to produce high quality content, and it's hard to produce it consistently with enough volume that it actually moves the needle for your business. But that's what I'm trying to help you with today also. So content could be automatic SEO, right? So remember when I told you that Compuser, which was a SaaS product that I launched, and I think within a couple of months, we were at like $5,000 in monthly recurring revenue. The whole play was search engine optimization. All we did was that we figured out, okay, Compuser. It's basically an AI agent that controls your computer. Who cares about that product? It's people who want a digital employee. It's people who want to do task delegation. It's people who are asking for computer automation, for browser automation. So we figured out some keywords that people are interested in. And then we tried to create the best pieces of content that answer the most relevant questions in these topics. So it's like, how can I delegate access of my computer to AI securely? It's a great question. It's a viral question. We created a blog that answers it better than any other blog that existed to date answering that question. And we didn't have to do any of that manually. We created an automation that figured out the topics, that figured out what to write, written the blogs in a search engine optimized way where Google can pick it up, and then it automatically published it. We were doing 10 blogs a day on autopilot. I think we have thousands of blogs right now that got indexed by Google and then by AI. It gets you a lot of ROI. It gets you low cost leads, relatively speaking, and it works. However, it doesn't work for everyone. It worked because Compuser was a SaaS product. It worked because Compuser was something you could use on a desktop, not a mobile. So if you're using mobile, then perhaps SEO is not your best play. It worked because in that specific case, that made sense. Now, I can't walk away with a clean conscience if I just give you methodology that works in a subset of businesses, because again, I don't know what your business is. So ideally, I'm here to give you a way that works for you, not for a subset of people that you might not be part of. So I'm giving you this as a very powerful example of content marketing that works. However, it's not the area that I want to expand on because it's not for everybody. We can expand on it in the end in the questions part people are interested in that space. However, the best way is video content, not blogs, not text. Why? Well, if we look at the stats, we can see that if you post a video, same piece of content as a video, it gets 12x more shares than if the exact script was shared as a post. The era we are in, high-speed internet, very, very optimized algorithms and user experiences for consuming video content. So the most type of content of media that gets consumed on the internet is video. And most of the packets in the internet is just video packets, people watching stuff. Now, in terms of businesses, when you actually post video content, you get 80% more conversion, which is a significant number. And yeah, it gets picked up by AI now, and also people who've tried it prefer its ROI. So I managed to convince you earlier that the best thing to do was outbound, and I managed to convince you that the best thing to do was content. Now I'm trying to convince you that the best kind of content you can do today is video content. This might change in the future. I don't know. I just know that today, video content is the best performing type of content you can create to get inbound leads. Video content is the best form of content to get leads, specifically short form video content, right? So obviously you can do YouTube. It's going to be harder to grow on YouTube to like do long form content that gets you leads. YouTube is more sticky. It gets you more die-hard leads, but short form content gets you the easiest results. Again, I'm looking at this from an ROI perspective. You're going to invest your precious time and money into marketing, and you need to get the leads back. So again, the statement that I'm trying to make is that short form video content is the best form of marketing for small, medium businesses, regardless of the industry. Obviously, it works better for like wellness industry and like the beauty and perhaps real estate. So there's a lot of industries that really rank high up there, but it works for any industry still. And it works for local businesses, and it works for global businesses. It works for SaaS. It works for dentists. It works for trainers. It just works. And it's because, right. So what kind of content? What kind of content? For most businesses, aside from the Coca-Colas and the Red Bulls of the world, people don't follow brands. People follow people. So if you take your phone, you open Instagram or TikTok, how many brands are you following versus how many people are you following? 100% you're following way more people. That's what people do. We're not interested in what a brand has to say. We're interested in connecting with a person that has something of value. So the best kind of short form video content is founder-led video content. It is when you show your face and talk to people about something. Again, how did we end up here in the conversation? We're trying to figure out how to do more. And then we tried to figure out what's the best ROIs. We landed in outbound, we landed in content, we landed in short form video, and we landed in short form video with your face. And it's also something super biological. When we see a face, a different part of the brain activates than when we see anything else. That's why you can see faces where there are no faces, by the way, in the dark or something. Because your brain biologically evolved to recognize faces and connect with them and try to see the emotion. Should I be scared? Is this someone who's trying to hunt me? Is this a friend? So when you show your face, you have a higher likelihood of stopping the scroll and having someone to hear what you have to say. And that's why you follow people, not brands. So founder-led content wins. This is the kind of content that you need to be doing, right? This is the first aha moment. This is the first insight that I'm giving you today after trying all sorts of different stuff. Now, if we look at founder-led content, we know that it gets you 7x more leads than the same post posted at the company's account. And we know that you get 5x more engagement than the same post posted at the company's account. And I've already proven to you that video works. So when a founder shows their face to talk to their ICP, their ideal customer profile, you get trust from your audience, which in turn leads to conversion. And it leads to conversion, I think, if I remember the statistics correctly, after they see you 7 times, I believe. It takes them 7 times to see you to think you're an authority figure in your space, which is, if you're posting content consistently, 7 is a very low number to get. It's easy to get. I like the fact that we're not losing people. I think it means that I'm saying something of value. So thanks for the feedback. Right. So let's take an example. We have my social media accounts. Why did I create my social media accounts? Right. Obviously, I love to talk to people about things that I have learned, as you can tell, but I did it to actually have an unfair advantage and a distribution channel whenever I build a new business, so that I can easily distribute it and tell people, hey, I'm solving this problem now. You're facing the same problem. Maybe we could both win, right? So, and the strategy that I took was basically doing education. Let's teach people. By teaching people, I build the audience of people who care about AI. I build the audience of people who care about AI SaaS products, which is the kind of stuff that I build. So I'm trying to get the audience that might be interested in what I have now and what I might have in the future. So by teaching you about AI, you know that Moatasem knows a thing or two about AI. Maybe if he builds something that's going to be interesting. And then I build something, and then I tell you about it through my channels, and then you're like, oh, well, yeah, that makes sense, right? And it also keeps you on top of people's minds, which is marketing in general. When Coca-Cola does a video marketing something, well, obviously Coca-Cola is not doing that for you to know that Coca-Cola exists, but it's doing that for it to be the thing that comes to your mind easily when you're thirsty, right? And it's all it's trying to do in its marketing is to attach itself or attribute itself to thirst, to the feeling of being hot in the summer. It's just attaching itself to that feeling so that it becomes a cue, so that whenever you're hot, you're like, huh, I need a Coca-Cola. So what I'm doing on my social media is that I'm attaching myself to AI, so that whenever you're like, oh, I have a problem that might be solved with AI, hopefully you remember this guy, and then maybe you work with him. You know, and that's what you should do for your business. You're like, try to talk about the problems and the space that your audience the problem that your audience faces, or attribute something to that your audience cares about, and essentially becomes a cue, so that whenever this happens, they remember you, and that's how they become your leads. A few tricks also in social media are, and we're going to expand on that in the next session. But a few tricks on social media is to get a lead. Basically, you say something important, and then you're like, well, if you're interested in that, drop a comment, and I'll get back to you. Everyone who drops a comment is a lead. And also when they drop a comment, the algorithm thinks that your post is super engaging and cool, so it pushes it to more people. And so they comment, and it gets you in that viral lead generation loop. So that's one of the very cool tricks. Right. Now, does AI generated content make money, right? So we figured out that content makes money. Now, I'm here to tell you that you can automate it with AI, right? Because when you're doing it with your face, you're going to run into some problems. But before that, I think right. Okay. Yeah. Before that, I want to talk to you about something that that's not in the slides. But before I jump into AI, why to use AI generated content. Let's talk about the problems that you would face if you tried to post content manually, right? So, and I know those problems because when I was building Promote, I talked to tens of founders and I was asking them, why are you not doing content? You know it's good for your business. What's the problem? And I've distilled them into 4 problems, and hopefully this will resonate with you. So the first problem, and this might be coming to your mind right now with me telling you to do content, you're like, okay, I don't know what to post, and I don't know for whom to post it, and I don't know in what sequence. Yeah, I get the general idea that you're talking about, Moatasem, but what should I post? What does my content calendar look like? The second problem is your time gap. You already spend less than 5 hours a week doing marketing. So the end-to-end content production operation ideally will overwhelm you if you don't have like a video production team in your company. And also there's execution gap. Well, let's say you contracted someone to shoot a video for you today, but then you traveled, but then something happened. How can you produce high quality content consistently? That's also a hard problem. And finally, measurement. How do you know what worked? How do you know why this video worked and got you leads versus something else? So there are 4 problems basically with doing your own content. It's the knowledge gap, the time gap, the execution gap, and the measurement gap. I have managed to solve these for myself, by the way, manually. That's why part of my content is human generated content. I still open the camera and shoot videos because I kind of have figured it out and built systems around it. However, I use AI also for when I'm traveling, for when I can't do it, for when I'm to assist me in general. And I think for most people, it's going to be a lot easier and more ROI if you actually use AI to do the content. So this is the part that I'm going to expand on. Now, the first question that comes to mind is, well, does AI generated content perform well on social media, like human recorded videos, or is it analyzed by the platforms? And actually, first party data, I have a single reel made with AI that made over 1 million views, which is a huge success on the short form platforms. And I have the second question becomes, does it make B2B revenue when you post videos like that on social media? And I have a single reel that made me 5-figure B2B revenue. So just a single video made me 5-figure B2B revenue. And it's like a 30 seconds video. Imagine you shoot something for 30 seconds and then you get 5 figures in the bank, regardless of the rest of the content strategy. That's how powerful a single video can be. Right, and obviously AI generated blogs convert, so it's not just AI generated video, but so subjective first party data, AI thinks it works. And it's not just me. If we actually look at the statistics, when you use AI, you get 25% more engagement if you do it right, not the AI slop videos, if you have a high quality AI video. And you get 135% increase in click-through rate. And this is a cost per lead for one of our clients, but I'm just showing it as an example because earlier they had 9 times that cost per lead before they used AI. The hypothesis here is that AI allows you to do much more at a lower cost. You could do any scene you can imagine for next to nothing. And that's why you can produce more interesting story than visuals. And that's why it kind of works better when you do high quality content. And it's not just real people. We actually created Hania as part of our experimentation with this. Hania is an AI influencer. She's not real. And yeah, on her first video, she got over 15,000 views and generated us over 50 leads in 2 days. And I think her last video was like 40,000 views. And she's not even a real person. So we created a persona out of scratch. We're like, that's the person that people are gonna connect with. And that's the person who's telling good stories to promote our brand. So it doesn't even have to be your face if you don't want to show your face. You could create a face and then have it be your brand ambassador. which is super cool when you're scaling, because right, the highest ROI thing is to show your face, but it reaches a limit, right? So here's my face, here's my content, and it reaches a limit. If you want to scale beyond that, you can use AI to spin up numerous characters talking in different languages, posting on multiple accounts, where you can have an army of, like, the dream, the end game of this is that your business has an army of 100 different influencers talking to your audience in multiple places, posting every single day about the stuff that your audience is interested in and getting you leads. So you could have a character that resonates with the people who are interested in your business in Russia, and one for people who are interested in Zimbabwe, one in Brazil. You could basically have an army of those AI influencers, and they can do pretty cool stuff. They can hold your product and talk about it. They can do tours of the real estate property that you're selling. They can be anywhere and do anything. And it can be fully automated, which is super cool. But you need to start with your face. That's where I would, unless you're uncomfortable with that, but that's what I would recommend. Right, we have a lot of founder-led content success stories. Lovable was basically founder-led for the most part, 200 million ARR in under a year with 100 employees. It was basically founder-led content. Calendly, 3 billion valuations. Basically, the founder storytelling about the challenges. Airbnb. Basically, we have a lot of cool. HubSpot, the founder to this date, like if you reply to them on X, they reply back to you, and it's HubSpot, you know. But yeah, founder-led is not just for small businesses. Actually, it can get you very far just doing founder-led content. So AI UGC is basically when I said beyond AI cloning, you could spin up those AI characters to promote your stuff. And the technical term for that these days is UGC, which is basically user-generated content. Because we realized that when you promote something as an ad, when you promote something as an ad, people don't trust it much. But when they see your grandma on TikTok saying, hey, that was a very cool product, they trust it. So it's user-generated content. It's a user of your product decided to make a piece of content, and that's why it resonates more. And that's the content you can also create with AI. You can create an army of user-generated content, which is super cheap, and it can get you very far. So in conclusion, if I start over today, building with any of my businesses, or maybe I create a new business, what would I do? I would do video marketing. And that's because nothing comes close for startups and SMEs in terms of building trust, generating leads, and compounding over time, because this is an asset. Every single person that knows you is a warm prospect, if not a lead today. So it's easier to convert them as leads. So it compounds, it really compounds. And the best way to do it is to basically follow this pipeline. You do a trend analysis, you figure out what's going viral in your niche right now. And then you see the winning videos that people are watching in your niche, videos that your target audience is watching. And then you write a script based on the script of the viral video, but tailored to your style and your brand. But you keep the hook, which is the first 3 seconds. And then with AI, you basically clone your voice or generate a new one. You clone your face with AI, so you can have your avatar ready to publish hundreds of videos whenever you want. Or you can replace this with manual recording, right? Just record your script if you can. And then you do viral edits, which is basically that every 3 seconds, you need to show something engaging. A whoosh sound, something that comes up on the screen, cut and do an insert of something to keep people engaged, because the attention spans have shortened. And then you publish the video. And you have to do it every single day, at least one video every day, ideally 4 videos a day. That's what I would do if I had to start today. Yeah. Now, yeah, to close, what I just described, we have reached a point where we know that, right, it's great. AI content is great. We're actually producing content to market my business is great. And I showed you very quickly the workflow that I've been